We are live.
All right, we'll call to order the April 18th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Chair Hutt, Vice Chair Dennison,
Here.
Commissioners Catalano,
Here.
Desai,
Here.
Pevsner,
Here.
and Spears.
Present.
Next, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Next, we'll move on to approval of minutes. First up was the regular meeting of Thursday, March 7th, 2019. We have enough here to go ahead and approve those. Are there any edits, changes, additions?
I wasn't here, so I'm gonna stand down, but
I'd move we approve them as they are.
You could be totally objective.
Is there a second?
I didn't choose.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
One here.
Great. Carries. Next up are the minutes for March 21st. I believe we have enough to do this, but I will actually abstain from this one. So are there any changes, additions, edits to the minutes?
No, look good.
I have no objection.
Entertain a motion to,
Also move.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And I will abstain. Next up on the agenda are audience comments. At this time, any person may address the Planning Commission concerning any item that is not listed on the agenda. Planning Commission welcomes your participation and input. When addressing the Planning Commission, please begin by stating your name and address for the record. Are there anyone who would like to come forth? Seeing none, we will close audience comments and move to the public hearing.
So we have one item for public hearing this evening. It's a design review permit, 19-03 for 360 Olive Tree Lane. The applicant is Charles Wood. We also have a PowerPoint presentation for you this evening, so you may want to adjust your seating. And Claire Lynn, Associate Planner, will be giving that staff report. I have it here.
Actually, yeah, we can just move over.
Yeah, that's fine. Do it
Good evening, Vice Chairs and Commissioners. Tonight, Planning Commission will be reviewing a design review permit for the property located at 360 Olive Tree Lane. The subject property is located here outlined in yellow on the east side of Olive Tree Lane. That is a private street north of Grandview Avenue in the residential R1 zone. Property is a 21,090 square feet rectangular lot. Property is surrounded by two-story residences, and the existing main residence on site will remain as is, and the proposed addition to the two-story accessory structure is outlined in red here at the rear of the property behind the accessory structure. Here are the photographs of existing accessory structure. And you can see there's a garage on the first floor and a guest house on the second floor. Existing photos of the primary structure in the front. And this is the view from the garage, view of the primary residence from the garage. Which is 122 feet away, and the rest are the photos of the site. Applicant is requesting Planning Commission to consider a design review permit to remove part of the exterior wall and an interior stairs that was built in 1953, and to renovate and refurbish the entire accessory structure, and to construct addition of 296 square feet of workshop onto the existing garage on the first floor, and on the second floor, an addition of 296 square feet onto the existing guest house. Design review permit is required pursuant to the code to allow a second-story addition or any new construction proposed to include a second story, and also to allow any new construction with allowable gross floor area for all structure on a single lot that exceed 3,500 square feet of floor area. The proposed project is a code-compliant project, and it has meet all the requirements by code. It comply with building height, lot coverage, gross floor area, front side and rear side yard setback, and the parking requirement. Here is the site plan showing the location of the two-story accessory structure in relationship to the site. The structure,
How long is the lot?
the lot is 300 feet.
Good, thank you.
So the structure sits 252 feet from the front property line, and the proposed addition is behind the accessory structure. Here is the existing floor plan. On the left, it will be the garage plan with the interior stair. And the proposed floor plan will relocate the stair to the exterior and add the workshop in the rear of behind the garage. Existing floor plan of the second floor, the guest house and also the addition will be adding it behind the guest house with a deck and an access stair at the exterior. Applicant is proposing a project to match the existing style. The roof plan will add a east-facing gable to the rear. And this is the north elevation showing the exterior stairs and the deck. And the south elevation and the west elevation is a street-facing elevation. And the east elevation is facing the rear with windows that minimize direct line of sight of the neighboring home. Sections showing the grade and the profile, and the elevation here is showing the neighboring property to the east.
What's the line there that runs halfway through the balcony?
This is a property line, so the neighboring structure is encroaching into their property.
Never seen
Here is the color renderings and color elevations and material that will be used for the project. What is not showing here is the owner wishes to retain the vertical siding look of the second floor, so it will be replaced with hardy board siding, the vertical hardy board siding.
Yes, but it doesn't say that on the materials we were given.
Yes, it doesn't, the owner made that change. Design review permit findings have to be made in order to approve the project. These findings are in the packet for planning commission to make decision. In that, the summary will be the proposed project is consistent with general plan and objectives as it remain as a single family use, preserve and refurbish existing structure, And the addition will not interfere with the use, possession, and enjoyment of the surrounding adjacent properties, and will comply with all development standards. Proposed bulk and mass is compatible with the existing neighborhood, and the addition with the footprint of 296 square feet, it only occupies 15% of the lot. It reflects the scale of the neighborhood, as the addition will remain the existing height. It will not interfere with the public view, and it's not visible from the public view, as the existing structure sits 252 feet from the front property line, and it's screened by mature tree and foliage. And the project will be restore and rehabilitate the existing structure with new roof, new vertical hardy board siding, and new stairs with non-combustible material. And the new addition will match the style and color of the existing structure. The project will also comply with all applicable building code to satisfy sustainable and landscape practices. Alternative before the Planning Commission this evening is to approve the design review permit 1903 pursuant to the Planning Commission Resolution 1905, or to approve the design review permit 1903 with modification, or deny the application identifying the findings that Planning Commission feels cannot be made and the basis for rejecting those findings, or continue the project and provide staff and applicant with direction. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission take the following action pursuant to Planning Commission Resolution 1905 to approve the application for design review permit 1903 subject to conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is here to answer any questions you might have, and I'll be answering any questions you might have for staff.
Are there any questions for staff?
Yes. I would like to know about that property to the east. What do you know about how that accessory, two-story accessory building winds up like where it is? Okay, it's only not counting the balcony. I looked at it today. I was at the site. Nobody answered the door, but I went back there and looked around, and it seems as though the building itself is only about 3 feet off of the property line, and then the balcony encroaches. What happened there? How did we wind up in that situation to
Actually,
begin
there
with?
appears to be 4 to 5 structures on that property in a single-family residential neighborhood. We'll look into it a little bit more closely. It looks like there are some apartments on that street nearby. So we'll take a look and see what's going on there. But it looks like buildings have grown over time there.
They just grow.
Only on the weekends.
But as far as this project, his setback is correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
It meets
they
the-
comply with all the setback. The rear setback, they have 15 feet, and at other area, they have 15 feet and 6 inches.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? All right.
No, not right now.
Would the applicant like to address the commission?
So I'm Charles Wood, owner of 360, and to address one of the questions about the property length is 315, not 300, and I did have it surveyed.
350?
15,
315.
1.5. And so I did have it surveyed. I paid for the survey to be recorded with the county so that it would come out and put the pins in and it would be recorded.
Good.
And that's where we found out, the that is a garage on the back property, about 12 to 16 inches off mine, with the balcony over, and then there's a fence that's, when they looked for the other pin, they had to go onto that property and found on the, that it's on inside and was, tiled over. And there was the original pin from 1950 something. So that allowed me to just understand I haven't done anything. I was meaning to do like an adverse possession letter with the owner on that side. I've contacted the owner and just let them know that, your balcony's over, and also there was a fence that's, takes up a triangle about this wide from myself to Mr. Dennison. So it's, I just haven't done that. We were a family situation, hospital for a son, so I didn't do it during that time period. But there is, and then in answer to there's the question about the hardy backer, the materials were not in there. There's a miscommunication, but one of the main things is that when we were in the siding, I knew had to be redone. With friends who were on the fire department, the Lowe family, and Dennison and Tom, I don't want to maintain it that much with wood. And the other factor too is having it be a hardy backer siding. They have a wood grain. It will look like wood, but it will last for my lifetime at least. I don't want to have to deal with it.
Yeah, that would be hardy. That would be hardy board, not
Hardy board cider.
not hardy backer. Okay, same company, different product.
Right.
And actually, you can get either wood grain or smooth, and I see that yes, you the wood the exterior wood that's on there right now is probably beyond reasonably restoring and bringing it back.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And I don't know if there's the distance, I don't know if it's known, but there's the distance of the property. Our main meter is actually on Auburn Lane, which is off of Auburn. So the distance to the back of the water main is closest to the garage versus closest to the house. If that has any reference for
So
safety.
on your property, there is a power pole 3/4 of the way down your driveway on the north side that feeds both the rear house and your house. Because the pole is on your property, the power company does not come by and trim the pepper tree that is hanging over it. Currently, the power line that connects to this building is held on by one bolt. Are you adverse to putting in undergrounding the feed from that pole to this building?
Averse to the cost. But I'm not averse. I wouldn't. I guess the thing is that we are trimming that. I keep that maintained, and I'm due for maintenance on that. And
Well,
also the factor too is that when that's properly held on, I know it's with one bolt. That's part of the whole remodel.
so the reason I bring this up is that you are above Grandview, and Grandview is the demarcation line for the high fire risk area. And if you looked at the pictures on the slides, there's a lot of vegetation growth that was around that structure. If a fire engine were to respond to a fire at that location, it has to hit the fire hydrant at Grandview and lay 350 feet up your private road, and then pull a line from the engine all the way back to your rear property. The problem is that it's 250 feet on the cross bed,
Yep.
so they're still 2 feet short from the structure. So I am very concerned about the safety of this issue. There's a lot of overgrown vegetation when I was there. There's a lot of extra work that needs to be done in order to limit the combustibility. I would very much want to see you underground the utility from the pole that's on your property to the building.
Would you be averse to having it relocated on a shorter distance, or
You mean to the other side?
to the other side where there's.
Where you're going to put the steps?
Correct.
No, I want to see it underground. Because quite honestly, sir, the maintenance that I see there now doesn't support long-term
Have-
safety.
When was, and were you, you were just there Thursday?
I was there Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
I'd like to see a fix that did not involve continuing maintenance because I don't want to have to worry about it not being maintained in the future. Once it's underground, the pepper tree can move and it can be a high wind area and there will not be a fear of that power line coming down. And only from your pole, the pole that's on your property.
So it's not a.
So it's like 40 feet.
Take that into consideration.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Comments now, right? Is there any members of the audience that would like to comment on this before we bring it back to the commission? Okay.
Is there anybody in particular from the representing the property behind to the east? I'd love to hear from them.
Wouldn't hold my breath.
Okay.
All right, let's bring it back to the commission. You want to lead us off, Manish?
Actually, is the designer here? Want to come up for a second? So, I mean, this project gets captured. Oh,
At the podium, sir.
yeah, sorry. Gets caught in our number 8 finding.
Yep.
You know? And my question is, I mean, I think you've done a great job kind of carrying, looks like a dilapidated barn basically, but carrying that, reconstructing it and kind of bringing that back to life. I think the hardy, that was one of my comments, which I think you're going to incorporate the upper level instead of
James Hardy is the
yeah, you're going to do that. But and I know this is a minor thing, but you did fine carrying it around, but when you got to the rear, you stuck these 2 eyebrows in the back for your windows, and I know why you did it because your neighbor's right there. But I think there could have been a little better treatment of that. That's the only part that doesn't seem to fit with this. You've got all these sort of mold windows, like in the front and then around the side. You get to the back and you've got these 2 like eyebrows kind of sticking out. I would love to see you figure out a way. You can still have clear story high windows, but maybe you move them to the right under the ridge, you know, and just have a window across
higher?
there. Yeah, or
Okay.
or flatten them out at the bottom and just basically create a triangle fixed window. You know, something. It just doesn't fit in that whole idea of carrying the same design kind of around all 4 sides. I think you're missing something there. Just kind of. I know it's the back end of the house, but it'd be nice to see if you can clean that up a little bit.
okay.
You know, I don't think it's very difficult.
I'm sorry, would you state your name for the record, please?
Gabriel
Gabriel?
Bobadilla.
Okay.
And what firm are you with?
I'm sorry.
What firm are you with?
I work for Madre construction.
Thank you.
Other than that, changing it to the hardy, I think that'll work. And I mean, it works. I don't really have any heartburn over it. You know, I mean, it's not. It's a tiny project, but it's got to meet all this sort of over the top stuff. So I think it's fine. I just had a couple of those things. The hardy was the big one, so that got knocked out. And if you can look at those 2 windows,
Yeah. I
Um,
can put it just right below the.
yeah, it'd be nice to just see one like that, or just 2 pieces like that. If you have I don't know how you're building this thing, but you might have a post right supporting
Yeah.
your ridge beam
Can-
right down the middle, which standard. So you may want to put one on this
Triangles.
side. Yeah, and one on this side.
Okay, even better. Yeah.
So that was it. So.
All right. Any other questions for the designer? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back to the commission. Manish, did you have any other?
Yeah, no, like I'm good with it. That encroachment issue is what it is. I don't think that's something that should be tagged onto this project. I mean, it's kind of an issue, but I strongly agree with Bob on the undergrounding of that line to the back. I think anytime you can do that, speaking just from personal experience, a tiny accessory structure, and we undergrounded it from the meter on our property back, and it wasn't a huge expense. I mean, it was because it wasn't in the public right away. The pole, like having it on the property, I think makes it a lot easier and cleaner, and it's like a no-brainer. So I strongly agree with that. I think design-wise, I think it's fine. A couple little quirky things. I think it works. It's way at the back of the property, so, and seeing the current structure and what it'll be, I think it's a huge improvement. So I don't have any heartburn with it.
Do you have anything else, Bob?
So, Claire, can we show your pictures again? The very front, the one with the lot, and then the pictures from. Yeah, so we're looking at a lot of overgrown vegetation in here, and some of it has been removed, but it's obvious that it's not well maintained. So we have a risk of fire, and it's very close to neighboring structures. So even if the people on the other side had a problem at fire in their house, this would be the first house that was going to go. Can you go back to the lot line? No, there. So your nearest fire hydrant is down here. So it's at least 350 feet up to here. The fire engine has a hose lay on it, go across. It's going to have to stop going this way, and they're going to pull two hoses that are 250 feet, and they're going to stop right there. So there's no way to get around behind without doing extra work. And, you know, I've had to do this, Tom's had to do this. So this is a very high impact area. It's at risk. And so we have an opportunity now to mitigate that risk and to make it safer, not only for this property owner, but the people up here and the people back here. So I've asked that the power pole is right here, or right about here. And so however you underground that utility is fine, but I cannot approve this project unless you're willing to do that.
I have a question for you, and that is that does our fire department have a standard in terms of overall distance from, or is it judgment in each case?
Well,
Or
the
do we have
overall distance is whatever the lot is.
Well, you know, I mean overall distance from between the hydrant and the site where you're fighting the fire.
Well,
Do you have a?
this is a private street. So normally your hydrants are 300 feet apart. This is a private street. The nearest hydrant is the one down at the bottom.
And you're
There's sufficient hose on the back in the supply bed to make it up there.
Oh, yeah. There's 1,000 feet of hose.
There's 1,000 feet of supply hose on the back of the engine. So there's plenty of way to get the hydrant water up there. They would have to take a second 2.5-inch pack in there and then charge 2 lines off of that to be able to get to the back.
Time.
Time.
Yeah. Well, my question really is just getting back to if we were to approve this thing and then they go all the way through plan check, is it likely to get totally rejected at plan check based on by fire marshal's review?
Isn't there
Based on
something
where it
related
is.
to from the property line, the depth, like 150 feet?
There are buildings in this town where they've required the person to put in an underground dry standpipe.
Because they were too far.
because they were too far away from where the engine could park.
I've had to do that too, sure.
Right.
No, yeah.
And that's not uncommon.
Okay,
I'm not asking for that here.
okay.
But we have one fire engine. If there's a fire here, somebody has to come in from this side and somebody has to come in from this side. That's a long way in. So let's try to mitigate the potential harm now when we have an opportunity to.
I agree that harm should, what you're talking about is a fire not starting or not spreading, which is a lot better than whether the engine can reach it or not.
Right. Because they're putting non-flammable cladding on this building, that addresses my other concern. It's not going to be right now, it's got wood shingles and wood siding. It's very flammable. And it's ripe for those kinds of problems.
So if we were to approve it, if it gets approved subsequent to tonight, then the possibility is not the fire department. Fire department wouldn't say, well, you can't do it. They might offer you the option.
They might
of
tell them you have to
putting-
sprinkler it.
Sprinkler it, put in a dry
look at it.
standpipe.
Yeah, no, it's going to have to be sprinkled inside. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about fire in the air, in the area.
I got it. So the fire department might just require a standpipe there, for
The
instance.
fire,
They're going to check it against the fire codes, and the fire codes don't relate in that.
I see.
no. And so all I'm trying to do is mitigate the problem. In high winds, we have power lines come down. The power line on this structure is held on by one bolt.
They come down on my street all the time.
The tree is not trimmed, the pepper tree is not trimmed, so there's a problem with maintenance. So I just want to mitigate the problem, do it once, now, forever.
I'd support that.
Okay.
Good.
Along those lines, quick question. I couldn't tell on the plans, but are all the eaves plaster? The underside?
Everything's going to be 1 hour.
1 hour rated? Okay, so there's no exposed timber or anything?
Can you come and speak? Can you come and speak down at the? Can you come up to the stand and speak?
I'm Alfred Reynoso with Madre Construction. Yeah, the only exposed wood is the deck, and it's going to be a fire-treated lumber. It's called ProGuard, so it'll have the 1 hour rating.
Okay.
But everything else is
But the undersides of the eaves?
underside will be stucco.
Plaster.
Plaster. Yeah.
All right.
Joe?
Well, I have 3 items in total. The first one, I'm happy to see the change to hardy board, and not only for the maintenance reasons, but changing away from doing stucco on the second floor, because I don't think that really was very consistent with the type of building. The wood on the second floor is much more consistent, but thank you for changing to hardy board. It's particularly important here in light of this discussion. The second thing has to do with the setback and the proximity of the accessory building to the east, and I assume, since you've completed your design, that you're just turning your back on whatever it is. You've complied with setback requirements, and so if anybody's going to be put out about this, it's going to be the property to the east that has a lot of window that's facing the back of your new building, 12 feet away now. It's kind of like, well, they shouldn't have encroached to begin with, right? So, I've got no problem. Let them do it in this case. But the one thing that is really getting in the way, and the one reason right now that I can't make the findings for number 8, and I'm not going to tonight, is the fact that there's no information about the windows specifically on this. When you're drawing at this scale, the windows are basically pretty light line drawing kind of things, and you could draw a good Pella window with lines at this scale, or a piece of junk from a big box store, it basically looks the same to us at this scale of drawing. So I don't know what you're going to get, but if we're supposed to be making a finding here based on quote-unquote high quality, to use the words from the findings here, we need to know something seriously about the windows. To just wind up with big box store windows is just, to me, very, very inconsistent with quote-unquote high quality, and I'd like to know what the windows are, and if you've got a good answer for us, and
I do.
and we can make that a condition of approval that you have to reflect in your working drawings. That's great.
It would be a Marvin integrity line. It's a clad window on the exterior.
Okay.
Aluminum clad.
It's actually a fiberglass clad.
It's you mean
Wood
it's-
interior, fiberglass clad outside.
the cladding is fiberglass.
Fiberglass, yes.
Okay. And
And
what
Marvin's the maker.
I'm not clear on some of the operation of the windows from the drawings.
Looks like
Are
he's
they-
showing casements and sliders. Mostly casements.
Most of them are casements.
What's the main entry door into the guest unit? Is that like a La Cantina thing or a bifold?
It'd be a bifold, and it would be the same thing. It'd be a Marvin product clad.
A Marvin?
Yeah.
And those
Good
were
product.
were not divided, right?
Looks like they're, well, it looks like you're buying individual lights and you're gonna put posts between, they're not mold, factory mold together.
For the
Like
windows.
the front?
The front,
Yeah,
the 4 windows in
upstairs.
the front?
Yeah, no, they would be individual. They're not mold. No,
You're not mold.
they're not mold.
Yeah, that's too big a span for what he's showing there.
Yeah, they look like they're all individual lights and then site mold with a post, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want it to look continuous, you simply use a piece of your wood trim matching the other trim, and
Exactly.
And that's what they're doing. Yeah.
and to go window frame to window frame with that trim piece covering over your posts.
Yeah.
If we can make good windows, such as
I
he's
think
describing,
that's a good point.
you'd be satisfied about
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I don't want to spend Charles's money, but if the fiberglass works, their clad line is
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, but it's also price point. Yeah, their aluminum clad is a really nice window, but the integrity is a great window too. It operates the same. It's a wood clad window. It's just there's a little less color options in it, but
Yeah.
it's still a very good product.
yeah, it's a good product.
I'd be fine as long as that is written in there as a condition.
Did you have anything else?
That's it for me.
All right, thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of item 8 superior design products come with this design review process, and one was mitigated with the wisteria vine, so in keeping with sort of the eclectic look of these buildings, I think the superiority or the of the design is his approach to try and keep it within the way that the original building was designed and upgraded. I like the use of the mansard roof to sort of give it sort of that cottage look, which I think is consistent with the design of the original building and its property. And I'm okay. I agree with Manish. I mean, you could change those eyebrow windows to something where they're matching so that there's more consistency to the project. But if that could be made as a condition of approval, I can make the other findings.
Yes, I had one more thing, and it's very, very minor. Your roofing shingle specification.
It's a Certainty product presidential line.
Right.
Yeah.
You picked, I
It's your
think,
favorite color. That's the first thing I said to Bob.
Yeah.
Black.
Another black roof.
Yeah. They've got
Brown,
a,
I think it's brown.
they've got a couple of, there are a couple in that line of shingles, roof shingles. There are a couple of browns which are a bit lighter and actually would look more like the original wood shingles. And,
Yeah, they have a couple. There, I think there's 8 colors in the line. Yeah, there's a couple browns.
yeah, there are two, there are two in particular.
Come on up, yeah.
Do we actually call out for one of the brown ones?
On those boards.
I'm pleased that we can, I mean, if it pleases you guys to choose the color, I don't know, I like the color of the barn look,
The brown.
brown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of those things.
Yeah, these are browns. They're just, they're keyed down a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that the line that Alfie has chosen, this presidential line, looks like a shingle.
No, it's
Looks like the
it's a
wood
good
shingle
roof.
that I wanted to have for the barn.
I wouldn't take exception with your basic the basic selection of the certainteed presidential line at all. Okay, I'm just saying that within that line there are a couple of lighter browns, and I wish that you'd take one of the two lighter ones.
It sounds it sounds silly, but there's a heat sink issue. So like those darker roofs
Correct, and that's one.
suck a lot of heat.
Yeah, that's correct. And there's certain things that we're looking at in terms of, well, I'm considering in terms of the sheathing underneath to help with that
Well,
RF factor.
Yeah, it'll help, but you're gonna I know you're gonna use the radiant plywood. Everybody does that.
And a
You're gonna
styrofoam
flip
insulation potential. I mean, there's options.
that. Yeah, so it does mitigate it, but that surface is gonna collect. The shingle's the first line of defense. So the darker that is, it's gonna suck a lot of heat. Those radiant things, they'll work, but they get hot. So
You're good with the brown color, though, right?
I'm fine with the brown color.
So
That's the only thing.
So we can.
If I can choose between the brown colors, that'd be great.
yeah.
That,
I have one dumb thing, and it's, it's in my nature to be nitpicky here, but the point is, we talked about like the soffits say they're all 1 hour, right? But you have this detail on here on the page that says
which page is it? A6, A5?
A5. Like, you need to strike that where it says, note, 1 hour James Hardy soffit panel over 2 layers grade D paper when roof projection of a sprinklered building located within 3 feet of a property line. You're gonna do that regardless, so just take that off.
Yeah,
Are you okay?
I can't
Are
see
you
that.
talking about the overhang detail, rake
Yes.
detail?
The fire department requires that now.
But this project is gonna require that to be a 1 hour soffit,
Yes.
No matter what.
no matter what.
No,
No matter
yeah.
what, the fire department still wants to see
They want it on the plan.
that on the plan.
All right,
I
just
guess
make
is
a
what he's-
note, like, it's not a condition, but just a note that this is gonna be a 1 hour
Yeah.
structure,
No matter what.
no matter where it's located or what, so.
I'm curious, Bob, on just with regards to the fire hydrant. I understand that one. On Auburn Lane,
Yeah.
there isn't a fire hydrant. Well, is it Auburn Avenue? And then it's Auburn Lane is the little U.
Yeah.
As you go up Auburn Avenue, there isn't a fire hydrant near Auburn Lane, is there? No.
Auburn Place.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but
Okay.
if the fire comes in with your address, we have one fire engine in town.
Right. No, I know.
It's going to go to your house.
Right.
And be committed to that,
Got it.
trying to get to the back part of your lot.
No, I understand.
So part of it is the fact that you have a very deep lot. And the other part is that there's a lot of vegetation and stuff back in there. And
No, I understand. I mean, yeah, it's just,
I mean, you're spending a chunk of change to do this. This isn't gonna be cheap, so, like, it's like, I'm not trying to be flippant, but pennies on the dollar to do this, like,
no, I
you're
understand.
protecting your own asset,
I understand.
So,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer.
Was there any other, besides the
No, I think,
eaves?
I think
So-
we're good.
Yeah, so I thought that the project did a good job of conforming with most of the required ones. On 8, our favorite one, the only one, and it's already come up, are the windows. I thought that having, that it's hard to make finding F for sustainable building and landscaping practices when the windows are so small that it's not allowing much light into that room. Just because I know there's a big double door there to get in, and that allows light in, but it's facing north, and there's a lot of vegetation, so it's the least possible light to get in. But it sounds like we've counseled on
Yeah.
some
I think
changes
they'll
to
make 'em
windows.
bigger and
Yeah. So that
On
that
the
was
back, on the one that faces back east, you mean?
the two
on the east
the
elevation.
two eyebrows, just make them 2 triangles.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, that's the reason, you understand, the reasoning is like above eyesight.
Yeah.
That is a garage
I know, you don't want
that's
to.
been modified, and that's,
I
yeah.
think you can easily do that. You'll probably still be up 7 feet or 6 feet at least, so.
Right.
Yeah, there really isn't a lot of latitude here for sustainable versus non-sustainable. The most important sustainability move is the fact that they're reusing so much of the existing structure rather than trashing it. You know, the National Park Service has a saying, and that is that the greenest building is one that's already been built. Okay, and they're talking about reuse of materials rather than wasting, trashing, and starting over. So there's a lot to be said just for the fact that they're going to refurbish the existing here. That carries a lot of weight in such a project like this.
The other thing I'd like to say is I appreciate the fact that this probably feels like a lot of hoops to jump through for 296 square feet up and down on a building that we have no power to enforce fixing. So the fact that you are taking the effort to fix this and jump through the hoops of expanding it, do appreciate your flexibility with the recommendations of the commission on that, because we do want to encourage people to come forth and repair these buildings that get old and like this. So,
Mhm. Absolutely.
so is there a motion anybody would like to make?
Are we okay with undergrounding utilities?
Yes.
Okay. That can be in the part one of the conditions.
That'll be a
The
condition,
conditions are the windows
right?
and the underground of the power utilities.
The Marvin windows, you can get the exact specification from him, okay?
Can it be noted as Marvin or light quality? Or, I mean, you know what I mean by that? I mean, Marvin integrity has a certain line, so.
The term would be Marvin or equal.
Or equal.
Or equal would be the professional term there. Are you, Manish,
Yeah, no,
you
that-
satisfied letting it go as an or equal?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we're trying to get after is if we get that and then you come back and put in vinyl windows or something, which I know you're not going to do, but that's the kind of bait and switch we want to avoid. So if we put equal, it's going to be an equal to a clad product,
See, and a lot of the issue here, from the standpoint of overall building design quality, is that these more traditional windows, the Marvins, the Pellas, there's some depth, there's some profile, there's some shadow line to it, okay, and it's really between the window product itself and the trim. It's really a lot of what makes a really good-looking window. If you just take a cheap window from a big box store with the nail-on flange, and you slap it on the framing, and it's got phony muttons in it too. All right, which have no thickness to them. The whole thing is just like completely flat. It has no depth to it. It has no shadow line, and it. So that's why I was saying that to draw the lines on paper, they all look about the same, but in 3 dimensions, one really looks very, very cheap in comparison to the other, and that's a lot of the issue that I have, and I'm sure that it's shared with by some of the other commissioners here too. So when we say Marvin or equal, I think that we want to, Vincent, if you can make notes on this, that we're looking for the profile, a profile with shadows. It would be similar to what you would have found on the 1953 building, and not just put cheap flat ones on there.
All right, so it sounds like we have the condition of undergrounding the utilities and the condition of the windows at that quality or like.
And I would add, which they're gonna do, but just add in there, fixing the rear windows,
And fixing the rear windows to be,
more compatible with the,
yep.
that's it.
Yeah, and I'd support that one.
All right, with those conditions, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion. So moved.
All right,
Second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up will be oral communication. Anybody from the audience? This is an additional opportunity for any person to address the Planning Commission on an item that is not on the agenda and has not been discussed. When addressing the Planning Commission, please begin by providing your name and address for the record. And please keep your comments to no more than 35 minutes.
35?
35 minutes?
No comments from the audience today, so we'll turn it over to Planning Commission reports. Anybody have anything?
I have nothing.
I don't have anything now.
All right. Staff?
So our next meeting is scheduled for May 2nd. This was an item that was continued to this date. It was a CETT project, Lot 21. And we did meet with the applicant a couple of days ago to look at their resubmittal. Staff is still working with them, so I'm not sure if we're going to hit that date or not, if they're going to be able to make any changes.
The modern one?
Yes. So there might be a cancellation of that meeting. If that occurs, I have no other item on that agenda. Then that would be carried to May 16th as the next meeting of being a date certain.
Is there any chance that we can get guidance from council on what they would like us to change in what we've submitted to them so that we can continue to work on that if we don't have any other items on May 2nd?
Yes.
That would be great. Also, I'm sure the public will notice we have a lovely vacancy that we would love to get some applicants for. Summer's a-coming and we need to have a quorum
Because we're all gonna be on vacation.
because we're all taking a vacation. All right, anything else?
That concludes my comments.
Thank you. There's nothing else from anybody, then we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Right.